everyone, welcome back to Learning with Haneen. In today's video, we're going to be going over the January 2025 Algebra 1 Regents. We're going to be covering the open-ended questions, which are parts 2, 3, and 4. The first part, each question is worth 2 points. The second part, part 2, is worth 2 points each for each question. Part 3 is worth 4 points each, and part 4 is 1 question, and that is the 6-point question. So without further ado, let's get started. So question number 25 is the first question on part 2, and it says the graph below models Sally's drive to the store. State an interval when Sally is traveling at a constant speed. So an interval, we're going to be focusing on the x values. So if we're to focus on the x values, at which x values does Sally travel at a constant speed? So a constant speed means that her speed doesn't change. So if you look at her graph, she at 2 minutes, her speed is increasing. From 2 to 4 minutes, it's increasing, and then she reaches 5 minutes until 9 minutes, her speed remains the same. So from 5 to 9 minutes is the interval. From 5 to 9 minutes is our interval. And then, second part says, explain your reasoning. So why does she remain at a constant speed between 5 to 9? So we can say that between 5 to 9 minutes, Sally is traveling at a constant speed of, and if we look at our speed, she remains consistently at 35 miles per hour. Of 35 miles per hour, not increasing or decreasing. Question 26 says, graph the function f of x equals x squared plus 4x plus 3. So you're going to graph it, and the second part says, state the equation of the axis of symmetry of f of x. So I need my points to graph. So I'm going to go in my calculator. I'm going to go to my y equals, and I'm going to put in my graph, x squared plus 4x plus 3. And I'm going to hit graph. And it's going to graph it for me. And I'm going to second graph, and I'm going to get a few points. So my graph is very limited. So what I do want to, very important, is I want to graph my vertex. So your vertex is going to be the point at which you're going to see a pattern that I was talking about in the previous video. So if you look here, you see negative 5, 8, negative 4, 3, negative 3, 0, negative 2, negative 1, negative 1, 0, 0, 3, 1, 8. So we can see that 1, 8 matches with negative 5, 8, negative 4, 3, and 0, 3 matches together. Negative 3, 0, and negative 1, 0 match together, and then negative 1, negative 2 is going to be our vertex. So I'm going to draw a little table, x, y. So I can't graph negative 5, 8 because my f of x and my x don't go that far. So I'm going to start graphing negative 4, 3, negative 3, 0, negative 2, negative 1, and negative 1, 0, and 0, 3. So I'm going to graph my points. I have negative 4, 3. There's my first point. I have negative 3, 0. Right here. I have negative 2, negative 1. It's right here. I have negative 1, 0. And then I have 0, 3. It's going to be my y-intercept. And I'm going to connect my lines. Make sure that you're graphing, that you're not sketching. Your graph is going to be much more cleaner than mine. And then I'm going to label my graph, f of x equals x squared plus 4x plus 3. Don't forget to label your graph. Then it says state the equation of axis of symmetry. Forgot what the axis of symmetry means? Look at your reference table, it is given for you. Equation of axis of symmetry equals x equals negative b over 2a. And your axis of symmetry is going to be the value of your x of your vertex. So I know my vertex value of x is negative 2, but I still need to do the equation. So I'm going to do x equals negative b over 2a. And if I recall, my equation is x squared plus 4x plus 3. My a is 1, my b is 4, and my c is 3. So x equals, my b is 4, so negative 4 over 2 times 1, which is going to equal negative 4 over 2, which is going to give me negative 2. If you just write negative 2, your answer will not be accepted. You must write x equals negative 2 because that is the equation of your axis of symmetry. X equals negative 2. Question 27 says, the function f of x is shown in the table below. State an appropriate value for m in the table so that f of x remains a function. So, a function is a relation in which no two ordered pairs or coordinates have the same x coordinate. Okay? So that means that in order for something to be a function, no two coordinates, no 2 points can have the same x coordinate. So I have my x's of 0, 3, 2, 6, 1, 5, 4. You can write your m to be 7. You can say 9. You can say 10. You can say 100. Whatever, as long as it is not an x value that is already given. So say I pick 7. So I'm going to write, or you can just state, the appropriate value for m is 7. Why? 7 is an appropriate value because no other ordered pair or coordinate point has the same x value of 7. That's it. 7 is an appropriate value because no other ordered pair / coordinate point has the same x value of 7. And that will give you a point because each point has a different output. Okay? Question 28 says, solve x squared plus 8x equals 33 for x by completing the square. So it is very important that you read the question carefully because if you're given this question and you do not solve by completing the square, you're not going to get full points. But if you solve by another point and you get the correct answer, you're going to get a point. But it's very important that you know the different ways for you to find your values of x. So in order to complete the square, a main formula that you must remember is b over 2 squared. So how am I going to complete the square? So I'm going to write my equation, x squared plus 8x equals 33. So the steps first, this is already given to you in the first step that you want. You want your ax squared plus bx to be on this side and your c to be on the right side of the equal sign. So that's already written for you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do x squared plus 8x plus a box. I'm going to leave myself space to complete the square equals 33 plus the same box. So now I need to complete the square. So what you're going to do, you know that your value of b is 8. So you're going to do b over 2 squared is going to equal to 8 over 2 squared. 8 over 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 16 into my boxes. Now, I want to rewrite this as a perfect square binomial. Not a perfect square binomial. A binomial squared. So, I'm just going to show you again my b so that you guys have that for reference. So I want to write this at binomial square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x, whatever the sign that you have between your x squared and your bx, between your ax squared and your bx. So I have a positive, so I have a plus. And then when you divided 8 by 2, you got 4. In other words, what is the perfect square of 16? Is 4, because 16 squared is 4. Then you're going to add a squared is equal to 33 plus 16 is 49. Now I need to isolate my x in order to find the values of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square root in order to remove my x squared, to remove my squared. So now I have x plus 4 is equal to, the square root of 49 is 7. But please do not forget your plus and minus, because you can do 7 times 7 and get 49, but you can also do negative 7 times negative 7 to be 49. So don't forget your plus and minus. Now I need to isolate my x, so I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. And x is going to equal to negative 4 plus or minus 7. So this breaks apart into two things. X equals negative 4 plus 7, which is going to give me x equals 3. And I'm also going to get x equals a negative 4 minus 7. And my x is going to equal to negative 11. So those are going to be the two values of my x. Question 29 says, if f of x equals negative 3x minus 5 over 2, algebraically determine the value of x when f of x equals negative 22. So when it tells you that f of x equals negative 22, your y, this is the value of y, you're trying to determine x. Your x is unknown. So when I'm trying to solve, I'm going to set my equation equal to negative 22 equal to negative 3x minus 5 over 2. How am I going to solve? And I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. You get negative 44 is equal to negative 3x minus 5. I'm going to add 5 on both sides. I'm going to get negative 39 is equal to negative 3x. And I'm going to divide by negative 3, so my x is going to equal 13. So for the value of x of 13, that's when the value of my f of x is equal to negative 22. Question 30 says, rationalize the denominator of the fraction below. Express the solution in simplest form. Please do not forget to express your solution in simplest form. So when it says rationalize, I'm trying to remove my radical away from my denominator. So how am I going to do that? So I have 4 over square root of 2. What I want to do is I'm going to multiply my numerator and my denominator by square root of 2. So when I do that, I get 4 square root of 2 divided by square root of 4. Now, square root of 4 is equal to 2. So 4 square root of 2 over 2. That is my answer, right? But I need to simplify it. So 4, I can't do square root of 2 divided by 2. But what I can do is 4 divided by 2. And I know 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my final answer is 2 square root of 2 in simplest form. It is the same thing as this, just written with a rationalized denominator and in simplest form. Question 31. We have now moved on to part 3, and these questions are going to be worth 4 points each. I want to remind you that for your open-ended, your work should be done in pen. The only thing that should be done in pencil are your graphs and your multiple choice in part 1. So 31, part 1 says, Alex had $1.70 in nickels and dimes on his desk. There were 25 coins in all. Write a system of equations that could be used to determine both the number of nickels N and the number of dimes D that Alex had. So, we need to write a system of equations. In other words, we must have 2 equations. So that means that I'm given a dollar amount of 170 and I'm given a total number of coins. So I'm given a dollar amount and the number of coins. So my values must match. So I know that Alex had $1.70 in coins and alls in nickels and dimes. I know a nickel is 5 cents and I know that a dime is 10 cents. I need to find out how many nickels and how many dimes he had. So my first equation of my system of equations is going to be 0.05n number of nickels, because a nickel is 5 cents, times the number of nickels, which I need to figure out, plus 0.1 D, because a dime is 10 cents, is equal to 170. Now, I need to find out the total number of coins. So I know he had 25 coins in total. I want to know how many dimes, and I want to know how many nickels. So my second equation is going to be n plus d is equal to 25. So my first equation focused on finding the number of nickels and the number of dimes that would give me $1.70. The second equation focused on finding the number of nickels and the number of dimes in order to get 25 coins in all. Please make sure that you use the correct variables, because if you use, for example, x and y, you're not going to get full credit. As long as they state the variables that they want you to use, you won't get a point if you use other variables. If they don't, fine, use whatever you want. But if they tell you that nickels is n and dimes is d, you must use that for your equations. Part 2 says, use your system of equations to algebraically determine both the number of nickels and the number of dimes that he had. So again, my system was 0.05n plus 0.1d is equal to 170, and n plus d is equal to 25. Now, the best way to solve this algebraically is through elimination. So how am I going to perform my elimination? In order to perform my elimination, I want to get rid of one of my variables. To get rid of one of the variables, I must cancel out that variable and make it 0. So say I want to figure out my n, so I'm going to eliminate d. So I know that my value of d for my first equation is 0.1 d. So in order to get the d's to cancel out, my second d is also going to have to be 0.1 d. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my second equation by 0.1. So when I do that, I have 0.05n plus 0.1d equal to 170. And then I'm multiplying by 0.1 my entire second equation. So I have 0.1n plus 0.1d is equal to, and then I'm going to do 25 I'm going to do 25 times 0.1, and I'm going to get 2.5. Now, as I said, I must eliminate d. So in order to eliminate d, I need to subtract. So 0.05n minus 0.1n, so do it on your calculator to make sure that you do it correctly, minus 0.1 is going to give me negative 0.05n. 0.1d minus 0.1d just cancels out, so that's 0. And I'm going to set that equal to 1.7 minus 2.5. And I'm going to get negative 0.8. I'm going to divide by negative 0.05 to isolate by n, and I'm going to get n equals, and I'm going to divide by negative 0.05 to get n to equal 16. So the number of nickels that I have is 16. Now I need to find the number of dimes. Do I have to go through this process again? No. Now I can use substitution. So I'm going to pick the easiest equation that I wrote, which was n plus d is equal to 25. I know my n is 16, so 16 plus d is equal to 25. In order to isolate d, I'm going to subtract 16 on both sides, and I'm going to get d is equal to 9. So the number of nickels is 16, and the number of dimes is 9. And that is your first 4-point question. Question number 32 says, and this is the question that I want everybody who's taking the Algebra 1 Regents to please get all 4 points on, because everything is on your calculator. So 32 says, the table below shows the average heart rate X and the calories burned Y for 7 men on an Olympic rowing team during a 1-hour workout class. Write the linear regression equation that models these data, rounding all values to the nearest 10th. Please pay attention. So it says, write the linear regression question that models the data, rounding all values to the nearest 10th. So what am I going to do first? So before I put anything into my table of values, when I reset in my calculator, and your calculator is going to be reset during your examination, and I know we're not up to this question, but what you want to do is you want to turn your diagnostic on, because your diagnostic has been off when you reset your calculator. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit second 0, which is going to open your catalog, and you're going to scroll all the way down until you see diagnostic on. See diagnostic off, go down, diagnostic on. Click enter. Click enter again until you see done. I can put in my values into my table of values. So I'm going to go to stat, edit, and I'm going to put in my values very carefully. So for L1 is going to be my X. So 135, 147, 150, 144, 146, 153, and 143. I have 7 values, and I'm just going to double check. I have 143, 153, 146, 144, 150, 147, and 135. My L2 is going to be my Y. So I have 725. I have 812. 812. I have 866, 761, 825, 863, 737. I'm going to double check. 737, 863, 825, 761, 866, 812, and 725. Now, you're going to stat, calc, 4, enter, linear reg, enter. Now you're going to have your values. So I'm going to write them down and then write my equation. So my A is 9.117774566. My B is negative 527.5563584. So I'm going to write my equation as y equals. So remember, your linear reg is in the form ax plus b. My A is 9.117774566. To the nearest 10th, my A is going to be 9.1x plus my B was negative 527.5563584. So instead of plus, I'm going to do minus, and I'm going to round this to the nearest 10th, 527.6. That is your equation. Y equals 9.1x minus 527.6. Now, second part says, state the correlation coefficient rounded to the nearest 10. Your correlation coefficient is R, and that is why we turn our diagnostic on. Because after your calculator would be resetted, your diagnostic would be off. So the first thing you want to do is turn your diagnostic on. So your R value is 0.9022383419. To the nearest 10th, your R is equal to 0.9. Now, state what the correlation coefficient suggests about the linear fit of the data. So, if your R is closer to 1, you have a positive correlation. If it's really close to 1, you have a strong positive correlation. If your R is closer to negative 1, you have a negative correlation. Negative correlation. Okay? And if it's very close to -1, again, you're going to say strong. However, if it's closer to 0, you're going to say it's weak. So if it's close to 0, and depending on whether it's positive or negative. So if it's negative, you're going to say negative, and if it's positive, you're going to say positive. But if it's close to 0, you're going to say there's a weak correlation. A weak negative correlation, a weak positive correlation. And if it's close to, say, and it's 0.5, then it's going to be a moderate, whether moderate negative, moderate positive correlation. So our R is 0.9. That tells me that there is a strong positive correlation between, if I recall our question, it's between average heart rate and calories burned. Between average heart rate and calories burned. That is your answer to that question. Question 33 says, using the quadratic formula solve x squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 0. Express your answer in simplest radical form. So we'll get on to that. Using your quadratic formula, it is on your reference sheet. Your quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So first thing, write down what your a, b, c is. So my a is going to be 1, my b is going to be 4, and my c is negative 3. Remember your sign. So I'm going to write x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4. My a is 1, c is negative 3, all over 2 times 1. I'm going to simplify that. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16. And this is negative 4 times 1 times negative 3 is going to be plus 12 over 2, which simplifies to x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 28 over 2. This is when you need to apply simplest radical form. So square root of 28 is not a perfect square root. So my perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, and so on. So for 1 is just 1, for 4 is 2, for 9 is 3, for 16 is 4, for 25 is 5, for 36 it's 6, 49 is 7, and for 64 it's 8, and so on. Because if we take the square root of each of those are the answers that we're going to get. Now, square root of 28 is not a perfect square. But what two numbers, one of them being a perfect square, if we multiply together would give me square root of 28? Well, that would be square root of 4 and square root of 7. Square root of 4 is a perfect square. I know that is going to be 2. Square root of 7 is not a perfect square, but it cannot be broken no further, so it's going to keep it as square root of 7. So I'm going to rewrite it as x equals negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 7 over 2. Now, I can still simplify this even further. So, negative 4 divided by 2 is just negative 2, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so it's just square root of 7. So that splits up into x equals negative 2 plus square root of 7, and x equals negative 2 minus square root of 7. Those are going to be your values of x in simplest radical form. Now, Question 34 says, solve the following system of equations algebraically for all values of x and y. So here, when we previously solved our system of equations, both equations were linear. Now we're given a quadratic and a linear. So in order to solve for them, we're going to set them equal to each other. So they're both equal to y. So that means that both equations are equal to each other. So if you do not remember how to solve for this algebraically, you know how to do it graphically, do it and put an answer, you're going to get some points. Although you won't get all 4 points, at least you're going to get some points. So how do I solve this algebraically? So I said I'm going to set them equal to each other. So I'm going to do x squared minus 7x plus 12 is going to equal to 2x minus 6. I need to set this equal to 0 in order to solve, because now it's a quadratic. To find the values of x, I would need to either factor, complete the square, or do the quadratic formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. I'm going to get x squared minus 9x plus 12 equal to negative 6. And then I'm going to add 6 on both sides. X squared minus 9x plus 18 is equal to 0. Now, I want to factor. I can see that this equation is pretty factorable. So, what two numbers, when multiplied, give me 18, and when added, give me negative 9? Well, I can think of 6 and 3. Now, I need negative 9. So I would need to make both of my values negative. So then I'm going to rewrite it as x minus 3 times x minus 6. Set them equal to 0 to find my values of x. So x minus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. X is going to equal to 3. Now, same thing for 6. Set it equal to 0. Add 6 on both sides. X equals 6. I found my values of x, but remember, I need to also find all values of y. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to pick my linear equation. It's just easier. So my linear equation is y equals 2x minus 6. And I'm going to do it on each side. So I'm going to substitute here x for 3. And I'm going to substitute here x for 6. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. So for this value of x of 3, my y is going to be 0. Now for here, y equals 2 times 6 is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. So for my value of x of 6, my y is going to be 6. So x can be 3 for its y to be 0, or x could be 6 for its y to also be 6. And we could also write it as 3, 0 and 6, 6 as your all values of x and y, and make the following equations through. Question 35 is going to be your last question, worth the most points, your 6-point questions. Now, 35 says, Anna plans to spend $30 in balloons and party hats for her daughter's birthday party. Including tax, balloons cost $2 each and party hats cost $1.50 each. The number of party hats Anna needs is twice as many as the number of balloons. If x represents the number of balloons and y represents the number of party hats, write a system of equations that can be used to represent this situation. So, my first equation of my system, pretty straightforward. So, I'm given an amount of $30. Balloons cost $2 and they're represented by x. Party hats cost $1.50 and they're represented by y. So I need to find the number of balloons times $2 each plus the number of party hats times $1.50 each in order to find out how many she can buy with $30. The next system of equations says, part of the system of equations, the number of party hats Anna needs is is twice as many as the number of balloons. So my y is my party hat. So y party hats is equal to twice as many balloons. My balloons is x. Twice as many means that whatever number of balloons she has, 2 times the number of balloons is the number of party hats. This is my system of equations. So my first one is 2x plus $1.50. Y is equal to 30. And my second one is y equals 2x. My second part says, graph your system of equations on the set of axes below. So I'm going to use my calculator for this. But before I do that, I can put y equals 2x into my y equals x. Y equals button in my calculator. But I cannot put 2x plus 1.5 y equals 30. So I have to rewrite this equation. So when I rewrite my equation, I have 2x plus 1.5 y is equal to 30. Now, I need to isolate my y in order to write it into y equals. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. 1.50 y is equal to negative 2x plus 30. And then I'm going to divide by 150. So y is equal to negative 2 over 1.5x plus, now I can do 30 divided by 1.5. I'm going to do 30 divided by 1.5, and I'm going to get 20. So plus 20. So now I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to put in my equation. So my first one, negative, I'm going to put this in parentheses. So negative 2 divided by 1.50 x plus 20. And my second equation is 2y equals 2x. Now I'm going to graph. So when I graph, I can't really clearly see my graph. So when I look at my graph that I'm given on my test, my x values are from 0 to 20 and my y values are from 0 to 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit window. I'm going to change my window. I'm going to make my x minimum 0. I'm going to make my x max 20. I'm going to make my y minimum 0 and my y max 20. And then I'm going to graph it again. Now I can see both of my graphs. So I'm going to need to graph it. So I'm going to go to second graph, and I'm going to graph my equation. So I'm going to pick the most straightforward point. So I first like to draw my tables of values. So this is going to be for y equals negative 2 over 1.5x plus 20. So my x and my y. So I'm going to have 0, 20. I have 3, 16. I have 6, 12. What else can I graph on there? And I have 9, 8. Now for my next equation, y equals 2x, I can graph 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6, 4, 8, and 4, 8, 5, 10, and 6, 12. Now I'm going to graph. So I'm going to graph my first one. My first point is at 0, 20. My second point is at 3, 16. It's going to be right here. And my next point is at 6, 12. And then I have 9, 8. Let's see if I can get one more point after 9, 8, just so that it goes all the way down. There's 12, 4, 12, 4. One more if there's another one. 15, 0. Right here. And I'm going to draw my line. It is not going to be straight, guys, but you guys are going to have a straight edge. So your line should be as close to perfect as possible. And I'm going to draw my line, put my arrows because it is continuous, and I'm going to label y equals -2 over 1.5x plus 20. And I'm just going to change my color so you guys can see the difference. And then I'm going to graph my second one, y equals 2x. So I start at 0, 0. I go to 1, 2. I go to 2, 4. I go to 3, 6. I go to 4, 8. I go to 6, 12. Oh, 5, 10 first, sorry. 5, 10. I go to 6, 12. I can go to, if I look at my equation, I could go to 7, 14. 2, 6, 7, 14. I can go to 8, 16. I can go to 9, 18. And I can go to 10, 20. Right here. Okay, and then I'm going to draw my line again. Not going to be the cleanest line. And draw my arrows. Label my line. It's very important for you guys to label. Now, I graphed and I labeled and I have arrows. It says state the coordinates of the point of intersection of your line. So I can see from my graph, but also I can see on the graph on my calculator that there's a point of intersection. That point of intersection is right here. If I didn't see that on my own graph, but I saw it in my calculator, I want to find this point of intersection. I can go to second, trace, go down to 5, hit enter, and it's going to tell you your point of intersection is 6, 12. So state the coordinates of the point of intersection is going to be 6, 12. So explain what each coordinate means in the context of the problem. So that means that with $30, Anna is her name? Anna can purchase 6 balloons and 12 party hats, because remember, your X was your balloons and your Y was your party hats. So she will be able to, with her $30, have enough to be able to buy 6 balloons and 12 party hats, such that also the 12 party hats are twice as many as her 6 balloons. And that is all 35 questions. So I went over the 24 multiple choice in the last video, and this is the 11 short answer questions on your test. Again, part 2, each question is worth 2 points. Part 3, each question is worth 4 points. And part 4, 1 question, question 35, 6-point question. Usually your 6-point question is going to be a system of equations. It could be graphic, it could be solving algebraically, but be prepared for question 35 to be a system of equation question, so make sure you know how to write those. Again, your graphs are going to be in pencil. and your multiple choice is going to be in pencil on your Scantron, your written response is going to be in pen. If you have any questions, please write those questions down in the comments. I'll be as prompt as possible to answer your questions. If you need any clarifications, let me know. If you stayed until the end of this video and you liked all the ways that I have taught, make sure you subscribe, share with all your friends, put down any comments, like this video, give me suggestions of videos that you want to see over the summer, for any classes that you're preparing for any exams, let me know. And it was a pleasure teaching you. And have a great day, and good luck for everyone taking the Algebra 1 Regents. You guys got this.